We got a lot of urgent updates coming out about everything, friends. We got things happening in Europe. We got things in North Korea. We got things over in Israel and surrounding Lebanon areas. And we got things to talk about. We got reports to debunk. Let's jump into it, friends. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade. And it is getting crazy trying to keep up with what is going on out there. All right, first thing we need to talk about North Korea. North Korea has agreed to deploy troops to Ukraine. Obviously, they'll be fighting on Russia's side. So this is a big deal, but this is coming just as we're hearing the United States is lifting the ban on U.S. mercenaries and U.S. contractors, which are basically mercenaries, from fighting in Ukraine. So we have U.S. troops going to Ukraine. And we have, and mark my words, it's U.S. troops, friends. U.S. troops that are not going to be wearing U.S. uniforms, but U.S. troops nonetheless. And we have North Koreans going to show up in Ukraine as well. This is the first time North Koreans and United States soldiers have fought in a very, very long time. And this is the first time North Korea has sent a foreign delegation or sent troops to another country or participated in another conflict. This is big news. South Korea is flipping off the handle about this. South Korea is like, we're going to start sending weapons and munitions to Ukraine, which, of course, the United States has been borrowing stuff from them and giving it to Ukraine. So, I mean, self-righteous South Korea. I don't know how they bend themselves into those gymnastics as if like, well, we haven't been helping Ukraine. We've just been loaning stuff to people who have been giving that stuff to Ukraine. I mean, I guess short of South Korea putting the stuff physically on their own planes and flying it directly over, I mean, I guess that's more direct, but they don't really have the lift capacity to get things over there. But this is big news, friends. We don't really have other countries sending troops to aid the Russians. We have other countries sending troops, but they're basically sending recruits to Russia. I mean, Tajikistan has been well known for this. Other countries, states in Central Asia have been known for this, where recruits are recruited there. They then go through training in Russia. It has been estimated that something like 20 to 30,000 Tajikistanis or Tajiks are in the fighting in Ukraine. After they fight there, they get Russian citizenship. I mean, this is just typical concept. And people are wondering how the Tajik terrorists, ISIS guys, ISIS-K, have gotten into Russia. I mean, these countries, they all kind of can get Russian visas to work there, and this is typical there. But they're one of their pathways to citizenship is to serve in the Russian armed forces. And so there are other countries that serve like the French Foreign Legion kind of thing. So there are foreign countries, but they're all wearing Russian uniforms, right? But now we're going to have North Korean uniforms as well. And this is a big change there. Now, their contribution is going to be relatively small. It's going to be more political, and it's going to be more of a propaganda kind of thing, that it's now a coalition that is fighting in Ukraine, fighting against Ukraine with the invasion. So that's big news. But then let's flip over to the United States. U.S. mercenaries and contractors are now allowed to go into Ukraine and to operate U.S.-provided equipment. Now, whenever the United States doesn't want to put boots on the ground, the CIA hires ex-military, ex-U.S. trained forces. So basically, you have companies like Blackwater and other companies that basically entice soldiers that are up for reenlistment, who are coming off contract with the United States government, and then they get hired directly into these military-like units that then do military-like stuff, places where the United States military doesn't want to be said to have troops. And oftentimes they are working hand in hand with the CIA or U.S. Special Forces or U.S. Military forces at large. And so these are usually American soldiers trained by the U.S. Army, U.S. Marines, U.S. Navy, elsewise, and they are still holding security clearances. They've been trained on this equipment and everything like that, and then they get deployed to go operate that equipment and to do the bidding of the United States government elsewhere. I mean, you can call them contractors, you can call them mercenaries, but really, at the end of the day, de facto, they are U.S. troops. And so the fact that this is opening up the door for that, which has been theoretically closed up to this point, not to say that that hasn't been happening. U.S. Special Forces operators have been in Ukraine operating equipment and all of this up till now, but this is an open, they're opening up the door for a backdoor way to get U.S. troops into Ukraine. So we're taking these steps into war. Next, we're going to have official military observers, trainers on the battlefield, advisors. And this happens just as we have a change of the guard at NATO headquarters. The NATO Secretary General that is leaving at the end of September is going to be replaced by none other than the Dutch Prime Minister, who is a avowed warmonger, avid supporter of Ukraine, and a rabid anti-Russian. And this guy is going to be taking over the NATO Secretary General and to rally support for a non-NATO member, which I have to keep pointing out. The United States and all the European allies, Ukraine is not an ally. I mean, if Russia decided to invade Kazakhstan next, we'd have just as much on the line defending Kazakhstan from this invasion. They're not a NATO member. They're not an ally of the United States. We have no treaty duties to this country, and yet our government acts like our relationship with Israel is on the same par as our relationship with Ukraine. And that's not true. Ukraine has never sent anyone to come assist us in the United States. Now, Israel has at least done some stuff for us. Israel at least has provided tactics and strategies and special forces training, and they've also provided search and rescue teams on many occasions. They have helped us on 9/11 when we were searching for survivors amidst the rubble in New York. Israel was there. Was Ukraine there? No, Ukraine was not there. And when we look at things, we see that our relationship with Israel and with NATO members are on a different level, completely different level. And quite frankly, unlike most NATO members, Israel actually does stuff for us. And I can't overstate the fact that our special operations community interacts at a level with Israel that is higher than what we interact with most NATO members. Now, the UK out there, we do operate at high levels with UK. There are some special operations in Germany and elsewhere that we operate at a high level with, but nothing like what we do with the IDF. Anyway, so contractors. We got U.S. soldiers essentially going into Ukraine soon. We got North Koreans heading into Ukraine. We got the Dutch warmonger prime minister going to lead up NATO. But the EU is going to begin, has ordered the beginning of membership negotiations with Ukraine. They are going to have some serious problems about bringing Ukraine into the EU because the EU demands several things, like the rule of law, which That's not happening right now. There's no democratically elected government of Ukraine, which is a problem, isn't it? There's an actor who is pretending to be president of Ukraine right now. We got corruption. Can't have that in an EU state. And Hungary has basically said over its dead body. Ukraine will not become a member unless they can somehow convince Hungary to allow them in. And Hungary is like, nope, not going to happen. Not going to happen. And then we have multiple countries now requesting all of its citizens to flee from Lebanon, citing the fact that armed conflict, a major war, is about to begin there. They're reading the tea leaves and they're saying to their citizens, get out now. Canada is a big one. Now, the United States is still sitting at strongly urges American travelers to avoid travel to the south of Lebanon due to potential for armed conflict. So we haven't changed that, but it still is kind of appropriate. But that probably will need to be expanded to the whole country. Kyrgyzstan also requesting all of their people to get out. We have other Gulf states that are now actually requesting that their citizens immediately leave Lebanon as well. Basically, these countries don't want to have to try to figure out how to evacuate citizens of their country from Lebanon once the shooting starts. Because Israel may hit the airports, may make it impossible for people to leave the country. Where else will you go? If you're trying to leave Lebanon, you can either go through Israel, which is not going to happen, right? Or you can go into Syria, which is not the greatest option in the world, though that route is relatively open. But for certain nationalities, that might pose more of a problem. When your government has troops in Syria occupying Syrian territory and fighting against Syrian government forces, traveling through Syria gets a little more complicated. So we got that going on. We have the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, has just yesterday visited northern Israel to tour the border of Lebanon. Why is he doing that? I wonder. He's being open with it now. They are preparing to invade southern Lebanon. He met with the Major General Gordon, head of the IDF's Northern Command, to observe troops conducting exercises in preparation for their invasion. They're conducting final exercises for units that haven't prepared for the movement into Lebanon, a full-on invasion. And this is big news, friends. When they go into Lebanon, Iran is going to flip off the handle. What will Iran do? I don't know. Will Russia be supplying Lebanon with advanced weaponry? Possibly. Some have speculated that that's what's going to happen. Russia has a presence in Syria and can relatively easily move equipment from Syria and troops down south into Lebanon. Russian troops could potentially get involved in that conflict as well, or they could just operate their equipment, sort of like Americans are operating their equipment in Ukraine. So there's all that going on right now. So, I mean, and you can see how hypocritical the whole world is, that the United States is sending weapons and munitions and everything like that to defend Ukraine against a Russian invasion, which they've conducted due to terroristic attacks and threats to their border and their security, whereas the United States is helping Israel invade southern Lebanon, which they're doing because of terroristic attacks and threats to their border. And Russia's going to be providing weapons and materials to, Iran will be doing the same to Lebanon. It's just like the shoe goes on the other foot, and suddenly all morality flips on its head, and we're all supposed to not notice how functionally we're going to be helping Israel do what Russia just did but we're the good guys and they're the bad guys, we're supposed to be told, right? But the simple fact is, there is no good guys, bad guys. There is a simple fact that I live in this country, and so that means I'm on this team, whether I like it or not. And you and I are being dragged along by these elected politicians who are making decisions about war without ever putting it before Congress. Aren't we supposed to vote on war? Aren't we supposed to, I don't know, have a say in whether we're sending U.S. soldiers to die in foreign lands? Nope. We don't get a say in that, because they just changed the definition of what war is and what armed conflict and police actions and all this stuff mean. If the Founding Fathers could see what we're doing today as America, they would just shake their heads in shame. They would wish that they could rejoin Great Britain, because Great Britain wasn't as bad as what the United States is today. Great Britain was a much more moral, upstanding, and free society than the United States is currently. And that is a bold statement, but if you do your homework and you look at what egregious taxes the United States was balking at, we rebelled over like a 2% tax. And it wasn't an income tax. It was a sales tax on certain products. Absolutely insane. The world has turned upside down, and the United States has become a worse tyrant than any of the tyrants we ever rebelled against. Let's just let that one sink in. We have become everything that we said that we were against. Yay for democracy, yay for freedom in the world. But we should mourn the demise of our morals, our values, and our freedoms. All right, friends, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully this keeps you up to date on what's going on out there. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.